My Personal Literacy by Aaron Mundell. My past experience with literacy. As a child, my parents really didn't read to me very much. I can remember very few books that I actually had read to me, and most of them were picture books that didn't have a lot of words in them. I had a very love-hate relationship growing up with literacy. I enjoyed the idea of storytelling and writing stories. However, I struggled with a lot of reading and writing and was pulled out of my classes in elementary school to work with a teacher that could better fit my needs and help strengthen my issues with reading and writing. And in high school, I even still didn't read very much, except for within my classes with the reading of textbooks in like history classes or my health class. And then in English class, we read a lot of books like Macbeth, The Kite Runner, Of Mice and Men. And books like The Kite Runner and Of Mice and Men actually really struck with me and helped me sort of switch my attitude towards literacy. The Kite Runner's message has always stuck with me and was such an empowering book. And same with Of Mice and Men. I still can remember the whole situation of each of these books and how impactful they were on me and the issues they dealt with. But when I was in high school, even though I started to change my ideology of literacy, I still was very shy at that moment and would try to hide and avoid being called on to read out loud in class because I was personally very scared that I wouldn't sound too strong when I read out loud and I would embarrass myself. I would make grammatical errors and things like that. As for my present experience with literacy, I've definitely grown a lot since attending college with literacy and gained a real love for literacy compared to what I've ever had before. I'd say now I am a pretty decent reader and writer. However, I still make the occasional mistakes when it comes to spelling or punctuation, things like that. My current role with literacy plays in my life not as much of reading or writing other than for my classes. However, I do enjoy the idea of reading a good book in my free time now compared to being able to say that any other time in my life. I just actually ordered to read when I do have free time that Kindred book that I talked about on Flipgrid. And I'm excited to be able to read a book that kind of has a strong message similarly to the books that impacted me prior in high school. And I am currently trying to form better reading habits, like I said, where I can read more and enjoy reading and not have such a purpose behind reading, such as doing it for class or reading to understand something, just reading for pleasure. I want to begin to form those habits more. And when it comes to my class or me being in a classroom, prior I would never read out loud, and now I actually enjoy reading aloud to my class, and I've gotten much more comfortable with it, and I can do it and no longer have that fear of reading out loud. When I was student teaching and working in the schools after student teaching, I was constantly reading to my classes, and I became super comfortable with it. It really doesn't affect me anymore. I could read out loud just as if I'm reading inside my own head at this point. And my current views on literacy being taught in schools are, I think it's so important for literacy to be taught in schools to help for students to achieve. Students need to learn that reading and writing is important and can help them become super successful individuals in life. And I hope that my personal view is students will learn to appreciate reading and writing as well. My future with literacy. I hope to achieve a lot with literacy. I personally hope that I can gain even a better, stronger relationship with literacy, and I'll be able to use it within my classroom to help students achieve. I want to change my students' views on literacy and help them learn, if they have a hateful relationship towards literacy, to love reading and writing, or at least hate it slightly less and learn to appreciate literacy and all the components that come with it. I personally hope to improve my writing skills. I know at the time I have improved since high school. However, there are still times where I'll make grammatical errors or spelling errors, and there are many times that I'll use a smaller word that I know how to spell to avoid misspelling a larger word or incorrectly using a word. So I hope that I can improve that and kind of strengthen my vocabulary and my appreciation for words and make more in-depth pieces when I write. And finally, as a history teacher, I plan to use literacy in my classroom often, daily. Students are going to constantly be reading history, researching topics for projects that they might be doing, or writing essays and DBQs within my classroom. There's always going to be components of literacy within the class, so I know my future will involve literacy daily. Many of my students will be reading books that involve literacy in them to gain a stronger understanding of history. And I'm excited within the future to be able to incorporate literacy and history together to help my students achieve.